Welcome back to Criminally Basic Podcast. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Megan.
Okay, so I actually found this episode with my normal morning FaceTime routine with my best friend. And I'm like, yo, Paige, what should I do for a podcast? Paige is also the girl that did her logo, so thank her. Yay, Paige.
Yeah, shout out to Paige.
Woo. She's like, so Paige was like, do an unsolved mystery. And I'm like, okay. And I randomly Googled and found this. And this is the disappearance and mysterious death of Amanda Tusing.
I've never heard this one before.
I didn't either, and it's really weird. I'll get into it. So, first a little bit about Amanda. Amanda was 20 years old, and she worked at a veterinarian's office. She was actually in college. She was going to go be a vet. They described her as strong-willed, very intelligent, and really had like a passion inside of her. She had two older brothers, and one of her older brothers was her twin. Also, throughout this episode, keep in mind, they called her Mandy, so if I accidentally call her Mandy or Amanda, that's why. So it's not totally out of the blue or anything. Also, Amanda, they describe Amanda as a tomboy. She grew up around all boys, which I get. I grew up around all boys too. It was a very interesting time.
Yeah, I can't relate. I'm the oldest of two. It's just me and my sister, so.
Okay, I'm the oldest of two, but it's me and my brother. But in elementary school, out of my entire elementary school class, there was only 3 girls and there was 20 people in the class.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I grew up with the boys. So with my research, this was a little bit conflicting on what day this case happened. So I heard some places say the 14th, some places say the 15th, but most of the places in my research said 14th, so we're going to go with that. So on June 14th, 2000, Amanda Tusing left her fiancé Matt Evans' home in Jonesboro, Arkansas, hopefully I pronounced that right, at 11:30 p.m. to go back to her family's home. Before she had left, they had dinner and fell asleep watching a movie. When she woke up, she's like, oh, I gotta get home before curfew. And Matt had asked her, do you want to stay the night so you don't have to drive back with it being so late? And she's like, no, I'll just go home. He's like, okay. Well, Amanda's family's house was in Dell, Arkansas, which was a 53-minute drive from her fiance's house.
So wait, she was 20 and she already had a fiance?
Yeah.
Girl, lucky you.
Lucky her, indeed. I can't even, like I said, I will start a cult to get a boyfriend. Don't deny it, Megan, you would too. You join me.
I mean, Hannah, I'll always support you in your decisions.
Thank you. You're
welcome.
No, we won't devil worship or sacrifice or anything. It's fine.
I mean, there have been other cults that haven't devil worshipped or sacrificed and have been a little questionable in their morals. But I mean, hey, girl, you do you.
Okay. But yeah, no. Well, she never arrived back to her parents' house. Her fiance had called their house and got in touch with her mom, Susan, just asking, hey, did Mandy make it back okay? But she had not. So Mandy's mom, Susan, got her dad and twin brother So Mandy's twin brother and her dad, Ed, left to go searching for her. Mandy's fiance and her dad and brother, they didn't tell each other they were going to go to the other's place to meet. Well, they ended up meeting, and their search started around 1:30 in the morning.
Okay, so wait, just to clarify,
yes.
She was at her fiance's house.
Yes.
That's, you said, 53 minutes away?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so almost an hour away, and it's nighttime?
Yes.
And she decided to drive back home.
Yes.
That evening. Okay.
Yes. Because from what her mom said in the episodes about this I've watched, she had like a 1 a.m. curfew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So their search got started around 1:30. Well, on their search for Amanda, when her fiance and her dad and brother met on Arkansas Highway 18, they found Amanda's 1992 Grand Dam, but Amanda was nowhere to be found. And that was around 2:30 in the morning.
Oh, no, that's not good.
No. Something that was really weird, though, was they said it was parked in front of a residential area, and it was under a streetlight.
So this wasn't on the highway?
Okay, I think how it can say highway and not be an actual highway.
Okay. So there's a really long, like really busy street by where my parents live.
Yeah.
That is called a highway, but it's technically not what we would stereotypically think of a highway being.
Yes.
Okay, something like that.
Yeah, because like I live on a road it's called highway, but it's not stereotypically one.
Okay, so not like a big thoroughfare, just a well-traveled street that has residential pockets.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. With Amanda nowhere to be found, they went and looked in her car, and this is where it gets really weird. They found her keys were still in the ignition. They found her wallet, her cell phone, and the windshield wipers looked as if it was stopped mid wipe.
Was the vehicle turned off?
Yes.
Okay, but the keys were still in the ignition.
Yes.
That's weird.
Mm-hmm. And this is a really spooky ooky part of it, and it's really scary. The radio was on her favorite station.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was playing from what they said.
Oh, so the vehicle wasn't all the way off. It was kind of in that half off weird stage where the radio still works, but the engine is off.
I believe I could be a little misunderstood, but that's what I believe.
Okay, so if the radio was still playing, then
yeah.
Okay. Oh,
I know, right?
I don't like that.
Also, another weird thing was there was a can of Coke in the cup holder that she had. It was still cold. Yeah,
that's freaky.
Very freaky.
So she was just there.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah. So her dad it was her dad and her fiance Matt left to go call the police. So the next morning, her family and police started a search for her, and unfortunately, nothing happened during that search. But 3 days later, Amanda's body was discovered in Lake City, which is 26 minutes from Jonesboro, so halfway between the points, in a rain-swollen ditch, 14 miles from her car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She had her driver's license in her pocket, which keep that in the back of your head for a little bit. It will come into play in a little bit. There was no signs of a sexual assault, no physical injuries, minus what the water and elements had done to her body. But there was a small bruise on the back of her head, and her t-shirt was missing.
Okay, so there's no sign of sexual assault.
Yes.
At least just from what they can see initially.
Yes.
She isn't physically injured, aside from, you said, a bruise on the back of her neck?
Head?
Okay, yeah. So a bruise on the back of her head. But her shirt is missing?
Yes.
And she's 14 miles from her car?
Yes.
Nope.
Trust me, it gets weirder. Police officers had believed she had been suffocated and thrown in the ditch, but the medical examiner could not confirm that. But they did confirm that she did not have water in her lungs.
Okay.
But some water was lodged in her nostrils.
So her not having water in her lungs generally means that she was not breathing when she was thrown into the ditch, because there was water in that. But she had water in her nostrils. Could that have gotten in there when she was placed in the ditch, thrown in the ditch?
That's what they believe.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so she was dead by the time she got there.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like you're saying, they believe she was put in there after she had died. Also, oh my God, this is so sad, Megan. They told the family on Father's Day, and that's when they had found her.
Oh.
So sad. Unfortunately, at this crime scene, though, there wasn't much evidence at all. They suspect most of it had been washed away by all the rain that had happened. They looked in her car and everywhere, and there was no DNA found. besides her own. And, oh my God, she had bridal magazines in her car.
Oh.
It was so sad.
Well,
Okay.
this case is just a bummer. I mean, they're all kind of bummers, but...
Like, this is extra bummer.
Yeah, I mean, since she's younger than we are.
Yeah.
And to have had her whole life ahead of her, for it to just be snuffed out like that, that's really, really sad.
Yeah, and she had a promising future. She was going to get married. She's planning a wedding. She wanted to be a vet. That's so sad.
Yeah.
Okay. So as per usual, okay, God, that sounds so weird, but they interviewed the fiance because, yeah.
I mean, he was the last person who saw her, so that makes sense.
Yeah. I really do want a shirt that says the husband did it. They have those shirts that are really cool. I want one.
I mean, in most cases, it's true.
It's true, but not in this one. Like you were saying, last person I've seen her, he cooperated and passed every polygraph, everything he took. He wasn't it. They did, though, have one lead from a CCTV from a local convenience store, but yet again, nothing. No lead, nothing came out of that.
So what did that footage show?
It was just showed her car going or stopping in.
Oh, okay. So nothing.
Nothing. Yeah.
Okay.
Something that they did catch was Mandy's car being stopped by a police officer. The car was a Craighead County patrol car. With that information, they interviewed the police officers in that station. They actually had an officer take a polygraph and come back inconclusive.
Okay, that's interesting. Was it the officer who pulled her over?
They didn't say who it was.
Okay.
They just said they had an officer take it, came back inconclusive. There wasn't really enough to, indict anyone or anything for that.
Right. We've said it before. A polygraph just indicates stress, and there's a million other things that could have been going on in that officer's mind.
Yeah.
Polygraphs don't mean anything.
No, none at all. But it does mean something when they had people see someone pull her over.
I mean, yeah, that I will give it that. That is suspicious. And especially depending on the time that she was pulled over.
Yeah, really late at night.
Right, and where, do we know where she was pulled over?
They believe where they found the car.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I take back my other comments. Maybe a polygraph does mean something.
Maybe.
When it's with the right person.
Yes. But okay, oh my God, this quote really broke my heart though. And this is from Susan's mother, or not Susan's mother, her mother, Susan. Okay. She said, "We were planning a wedding and now all of a sudden we're planning a funeral."
Ugh.
And then she went on to talk about what kind of wedding they were going to have and how she was her only daughter and she was going to make it perfect for her. And oh my God.
Hannah, this is bumming me out.
I'm sorry, but we're doing a true crime podcast.
I mean, and you said this case was unsolved, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, the more coverage, the merrier, but...
Yep. Man. Like I said, this is a bit of a shorter episode, so we're going to get into some theories now. The police actually think it could be a serial killer that was involved, but where her body was discovered, only local people would know about it.
Okay, so and again, I've never been to this area, but I'm assuming that her body was discovered in a place that isn't super highly trafficked.
Not super highly trafficked. It was in a pretty rural area of that town. Yes.
Right. So someone who isn't a local could have just stumbled upon it while looking for a place to dump her body.
Yeah.
But more than likely, it was someone who knew that they could put her there and no one would see them. Okay.
And because the way they said it, they get a lot of traffic through that highway, so it was possible, but they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Another theory is a law enforcement officer actually did it. Mm-hmm. And this was from the detective saying this. over the case. They said they could cover up evidence. What they believe is either it was a law enforcement officer or someone pretending to be an law enforcement officer. That they said, which explains why she would have her ID in her pocket, because if someone pulled her over and then they were like, oh yeah, like, we need you to come with us, put it in her pocket, go.
I can see how that would be possible, but I would think that if they said, okay, come with us, that she would have taken her keys with her. I think the fact that her keys are still in the ignition is suspect.
Very. But, like, that's just what they kind of think.
Mm-hmm.
But they actually brought the FBI into this, and the FBI are almost certain it's someone in law enforcement.
I think based on everything that you've said, that theory makes the most sense.
Yeah.
It could be a serial killer. I mean, that's not super common. It's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it could be. My bet is either on on a member of law enforcement or someone who was pretending to be a member of law enforcement.
Yeah. That's what my best bet is too. That's what and this is from the lead detective. I didn't get to write his name down, so that's my bad. That's what the Quantico criminal profiling office believes. And they said they are almost 100% sure, or Mandy left willingly.
That would make sense. If there was no sign of a struggle in the car, it still kind of makes me question why the keys were left in the ignition. But if whoever was making her leave the car said, oh no, don't worry about your keys.
Yeah.
Maybe, if she was pulled over and is, doing her best to comply with the officer or who she perceives to be an officer, maybe not wanting to argue with him. I mean, I certainly wouldn't.
Yeah, no. If you're like, you're getting pulled over, if a police officer is asking you to get out, you'd be like, oh, okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sure.
Cool, whatever you want, my dude.
Yeah, I know that what am I trying to say? I know that not everyone has my same demeanor. I am very much someone who's like, okay, yep, you just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, okay, now, especially with what I know about like Ted Bundy and some other people, I would probably question a police officer, not in a
not in a snarky, sassy way.
Yeah.
But in a, can I confirm that you are
a actual law enforcement officer and not someone trying to murder me?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think it's important to let people know that, especially when you're driving alone at night and there isn't anyone else around you, it's okay to call the police and verify that you are getting pulled over.
Yes.
And it's also okay to continue going until you're in a well-lit area.
Yes. And that's actually something one of her parents told Mandy was, if you get pulled over, if you have to stop in a well-lit area.
But I mean, you did say that she was found by a streetlight.
True. So but I mean, that might have been the closest well-lit area.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, if you're getting pulled over, you're kind of stressing like, oh man, this isn't a good situation.
Yeah, no.
And that anxiety can kind of make you make decisions that you wouldn't typically make. So if you're looking for a well-lit area to pull over, maybe a street lamp is all there is.
Yeah. And especially like, I don't know how in the boonies that town was, or if it was at all. Like, I really do not know much about that town, but like, if it was like the boonies, like that might have been the best thing there was.
Right. I mean, it could have been that the closest gas station was 2 miles down the road.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to risk making the officer upset with her.
Yeah. Okay. This is another theory that goes into them thinking that it might be a law enforcement officer who's a serial killer, potentially.
Oh.
Okay. There was a case, and this happened 11 years prior. It's Dana, I cannot pronounce her last name. It's Sysimest.
Sizemest?
Sizemest? I think, maybe?
I don't know. Sorry, Dana.
We're so sorry. RIP. Their cases were extremely similar. They found she was away from her car, eerily similar. One day we might go into detail about her case as well. But they believe that whoever did Dana's might have done Mandy's as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which they're so eerily similar. I know I didn't talk about it much because I didn't get a chance to fully research her case.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of for either actual law enforcement officers or people who are posing as law enforcement to pull stuff like that, especially if the reality is that if you are a young woman driving by yourself at night, you're more likely to be targeted for stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Something that was really sketchy to me. Okay, this part isn't sketchy, but the next part is. Amanda's family wanted her on Unsolved Mysteries. That's not the sketchy part. Matt, her fiance, refused to be interviewed by them, and that was just in 2001, a year after.
Okay.
Well, in 2002, Matt finally agreed to the interview, but he only would do it over the phone, which that's not sketchy, whatever.
Yeah.
Unsolved Mysteries refused to produce it because he wouldn't be interviewed in person. What the hell, Unsolved Mysteries? Get it together.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly totally don't blame him for maybe not wanting to relive the memory of his fiance getting murdered. Everyone deals with grief differently, and while there are some people who are like, yes, put me on national TV, like, let me tell this person's story, let's solve this, there are other people who grieve in much more quiet, private ways, and I don't think it's a bad thing for him to be like, yeah, I'd rather not.
I get why I said it's a little sketchy. That's just me personally, but Unsolved Mysteries, that's on you.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunate. If that's really the only reason why they wouldn't air her case, I think that's dumb.
Yeah, no. From what I was reading, that's the only reason why, and I'm like, that's so stupid. Like, dude, like, it's obviously an unsolved mystery.
Right.
So the show never aired on Unsolved Mysteries, but Amanda's case was showed on Haunting Evidence, the show. I don't think I've ever watched that show. I might have, but I don't remember.
No, I've never seen it.
Okay, before we end this, if you have any information about this case, contact your local law enforcement officers or call the Craighead County Sheriff's Department, and their number is 870-933-455. A reward of $8,000 is still being offered to the information that leads the investigators to Amanda's killer. And this is the very unfortunate disappearance and murder of Amanda Tusing. So if you guys wouldn't mind, we'd really appreciate it if you would rate and review us on iTunes and wherever else you have. That would really just help us in getting our names out there because, yes, we are a relatively new podcast and we would appreciate all the help you could give us. Thank you all for listening to a Criminally Basic Podcast. If you want more, you can find us at a Criminally Basic Podcast on Instagram and Twitter.
And you can find us online at www.acriminallybasicpodcast.podbean.com.
And we'll see you guys next week. Bye!